Picture this, you're about to walk into a coffee shop. Simple, right? But your heart's racing. Your palms are sweating. You're rehearsing how to order a latte like it's a job interview. Welcome to 2026, where we're more connected than ever yet somehow, more anxious about real human interaction. I am here to talk about something millions of us deal with but rarely discuss openly, social anxiety. And no, this isn't just about being shy or introverted, this is deeper. This is your brain convincing you that everyone is watching, judging, waiting for you to mess up. So today, we're going to unmask this fear together. We'll explore what's really happening in your brain, why it's gotten worse in our digital age, and most importantly, how to start taking back control. Let's start with something you've probably felt but never named, the public persona paradox. Here's what I mean. In 2026, there's this weird pressure to be someone everywhere you go. Not just at work presentations or formal events, but even in casual settings. At the grocery store, at the gym, even just walking down the street. Think about it. You wake up, and before you even brush your teeth, you might check your phone. Your Instagram shows you perfectly curated lives. Your LinkedIn feed is full of people announcing promotions, launching startups, speaking at conferences. Everyone seems to have their life together. Then you step outside and suddenly you feel like you need to match that energy in real life too. Let me give you a relatable example. Your LinkedIn profile says you're a dynamic professional passionate about innovation and growth. It's got your best photo, the one where the lighting was perfect. Your achievements are listed in clean bullet points. But your reality? You're wearing the same hoodie for the third day in a row. Your apartment has dishes in the sink from 2 days ago. You spent an hour last night doom scrolling instead of working on that project you said you'd finish. There's nothing wrong with any of this, by the way. This is being human. But here's where the anxiety creeps in. We start believing we need to be the polished LinkedIn version of ourselves everywhere, all the time. When you walk into a room, your brain tells you, everyone here has it together. You need to perform, don't say anything stupid, don't look awkward, be interesting, be likable, be perfect. That's exhausting, isn't it? In casual settings, a party, a coffee shop, even a casual work meeting, there's now this unspoken expectation that you're on, that you're networking, that you're building your personal brand. Even small talk feels like a performance. Review. Someone asks, so what do you do? And suddenly it's not just a question, it's an audition. You need to make yourself sound impressive but not arrogant, interesting but not weird, successful but not intimidating. For people with social anxiety, this constant performance pressure is like running a marathon every single day. And you never signed up for the race. Before we go further, think about this honestly. Do you feel more comfortable interacting with people online than in person? If you said yes, you're not alone. Studies show that in 2026, nearly 68% of young adults report feeling more confident in digital communication than face-to-face conversation. Why? Because online, you have control. You can edit your message, delete it, rewrite it. Take 5 minutes to think of the perfect response. You can curate your image, your words, your entire presence. But in real life, there's no backspace button, no filter, no undo. It's raw, immediate and unpredictable. And for someone with social anxiety, that feels terrifying. Okay, so we've talked about the pressure. Now let's get into what social anxiety actually is, because there's a lot of misunderstanding around this. First, let's clear this up. Social anxiety is not the same as being shy or introverted. Being shy means you might feel a little awkward in new situations, but you warm up eventually. Being introverted means you recharge by being alone, but you can still enjoy social situations, you just need downtime afterward. Social anxiety? That's your brain sending false alarm signals. It's telling you that social situations are dangerous, that you're under threat, that you need to escape even when there's no real danger at all. Here's what's happening in your brain when social anxiety kicks in. Your amygdala, The part of your brain responsible for detecting threats goes into overdrive. It's like a smoke alarm. That goes off when you're just making toast. There's no fire, but your brain thinks there is. So, it triggers your fight or flight response. Your heart rate increases. You start sweating. Your muscles tense up. Your thoughts race. What if I say something dumb? What if they think I'm weird? What if I freeze up? Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the rational, thinking part of your brain, tries to calm things down. It's saying, hey, relax. You're just ordering coffee. But the amygdala is louder. It's screaming danger. Everyone is judging you. And because your brain is so focused on the perceived threat, you become hyper-aware of yourself. You notice every tiny thing, the way you're standing, your breathing, whether your face feels hot, if your voice sounds normal. This is called self-focused attention, and it makes everything worse. Beck, boss, now you're not just anxious, you're anxious about being anxious. Social anxiety isn't just mental. It shows up in your body. Racing heart, sweating, especially on your palms or forehead, trembling or shaking, nausea or stomach discomfort, dizziness or feeling lightheaded, difficulty breathing or feeling like there's a lump in your throat, blushing or feeling your face get hot. And here's the cruel irony, you're afraid people will notice you're anxious, which makes you more anxious, which makes the symptoms worse. It's a vicious cycle. Let me list some scenarios that people with social anxiety often dread: meeting new people, speaking in front of a group, even a small one, eating or drinking in front of others, being the center of attention, making phone calls, yes, even in 2026, this is a big one. Job interviews, dating or romantic situations, using public restrooms, entering a room where people are already seated, small talk or casual conversation. Notice something, these are all normal, everyday situations, things most people do without thinking twice. But for someone with social anxiety, each one feels like walking a tightrope over a canyon. So why does it feel like social anxiety is everywhere now? Why are more people struggling with this in 2026 than, say, 20 years ago? Let's start with the obvious culprit: social media. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and even LinkedIn have created this culture of constant comparison. You're not just comparing yourself to your friends or co-workers anymore. You're comparing yourself to millions of people, all showing their highlight reels. Everyone looks confident online. Everyone seems to have interesting lives, successful careers, perfect relationships, amazing bodies. But here's the truth, what you see online is curated, it's edited. It's the best 1% of someone's life packaged to look like their everyday reality. When you internalize this, it warps your perception of normal. You start thinking, everyone else has it figured out. I'm the only one struggling. And that belief feeds your anxiety. Another factor, we're simply practicing less. Think about how much of your daily communication happens through screens, text messages, emails, Slack, Zoom calls where you can turn your camera off. During the pandemic years, many people went months with minimal in-person interaction, and even now in 2026, remote work and digital-first lifestyles are the norm for millions. Here's the thing about social skills, they're like muscles. If you don't use them, they atrophy. When you're out of practice with face-to-face conversation, it feels harder, more awkward, more anxiety-inducing. And that creates a feedback loop. You avoid social situations because they make you anxious, which means you get less practice, which makes you more anxious. We touched on this earlier, but it's worth emphasizing in 2026, there's enormous pressure to perform your life, not just live it. Everything is content. Every experience is Instagrammable. Every opinion is a potential viral tweet. This has created a culture where people are constantly thinking about how they'll be perceived. Not just online, but offline too. You're not just having dinner with friends, you're thinking about how you look, whether the conversation is interesting enough, if you're being funny or engaging or impressive. This performative mindset is exhausting, and for people prone to social anxiety, it's fuel for the fire. Finally, Let's talk about something psychologists call the paradox of choice. In 2026, you have endless options for everything. Where to eat, what to watch, who to follow, what career path to take, which city to live in. While choice is generally good, too much choice creates anxiety, because now every decision feels like it has massive consequences. What if you choose wrong? What if there was a better option? This applies to social situations too. Should you go to this party or that event? Should you join this conversation or stay quiet? Should you be funny or serious? Casual or professional? All these micro decisions pile up, and your anxious brain sees each one as a potential opportunity to fail. Here's the hard truth about social anxiety. The more you avoid social situations, the stronger your anxiety becomes. It makes sense, right? If something makes you anxious, you naturally want to avoid it. You decline the party invitation. You take the stairs instead of the elevator so you don't have to make small talk. You order food online instead of going to a restaurant. You text instead of call. In the moment, avoidance feels like relief. Your anxiety drops. You feel safe. But here's what's really happening. You're teaching your brain that social situations are dangerous. Every time you avoid something, you're confirming to your amygdala, yes, that was a threat, good Jay, of protecting us. So, next time the anxiety is even stronger, the avoidance becomes more automatic, and slowly, your world gets smaller. Beyond the growing anxiety, avoidance has real costs. Relationships, it's hard to build deep connections if you're constantly avoiding social interaction. Friendships fade. Dating becomes nearly impossible. Career opportunities, networking events, presentations, team meetings, these are often where careers are made. If you're avoiding them, you're limiting your growth, life experiences, travel, hobbies, classes, concerts. All of these involve some level of social interaction. Avoidance means missing out on things that could bring you joy. Self-esteem, the more you avoid, the more you reinforce the belief that you can't handle social situations. Your confidence erodes. But here's the good news, and I mean this: social anxiety is highly treatable. You are not broken. Your brain is just stuck in a pattern, and patterns can be changed. The key is facing your fears gradually, in a way that feels manageable. It's called exposure therapy, and I want to walk you through some practical strategies right now. All right, let's get to the practical stuff. How do you actually start managing social anxiety? First step, get specific about what triggers your anxiety. Not all social situations are equally anxiety-provoking. Maybe you're fine one-on-one but panic in groups. Maybe you're okay at work but anxious at parties. Maybe certain people trigger you more than others. Keep a simple journal for a week. Note what situation you were in, how anxious you felt on a scale of 1 to 10, what thoughts were going through your head, and what physical symptoms you noticed. This helps you identify patterns and prepare better. Social anxiety thrives on distorted thinking. Your brain makes predictions that feel true but usually aren't. Common anxious thoughts: everyone will think I'm boring. I'm going to embarrass myself. They're all judging me. I'll have nothing to say. When you notice these thoughts, pause and ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is it just my anxiety talking? What evidence do I have for this thought? What's the worst that could realistically happen? Even if it did happen, could I handle it? For example, if you're thinking everyone will think I'm boring, look at the evidence. Evidence for none, really. I'm assuming what they'll think. Evidence against my friends seem to enjoy talking to me. Different people find different things interesting. Realistic outcome: some people might not find me interesting, and that's okay. Not everyone has to. Don't try to conquer your biggest fear first. That's like trying to run a marathon when you haven't even jogged around the block. Instead, create what's called an exposure hierarchy. List social situations from least to most anxiety-provoking. For example, making eye contact with a cashier might be a 2 out of 10 on your anxiety scale. Saying hello to a neighbor might be a 3. Asking a co-worker about their weekend, a 4. Attending a small gathering with close friends, a 5. Going to a party where you don't know many people, a 7. Giving a presentation at work, a 9. Start at the bottom. Practice that situation repeatedly until your anxiety decreases. Then move up. The key is to stay in the situation long enough for your anxiety to naturally decrease. Don't leave while you're at peak anxiety that reinforces the fear. Remember that self-focused attention we talked about? It's one of the biggest drivers of social anxiety. When you're in a social situation, your tendency is to monitor yourself constantly. How do I look? Am I acting weird? Are they noticing I'm nervous? Instead, practice focusing outward. Really listen to what the other person is saying. Notice details about your environment. Ask questions out of genuine curiosity. Pay attention to the content of the conversation, not your performance in it. This takes practice, but it works. When your attention is external, there's less mental bandwidth for anxiety. Here is something people don't talk about enough. You need to be kind to yourself through this process. Social anxiety makes you your own worst critic. You replay conversations, cringing at things you said. You beat yourself up for feeling anxious in the first place. But imagine if a friend came to you and said, "I felt so anxious at that party. I'm such a loser." You wouldn't agree with them, right? You'd say something like, "Hey, parties are tough. You showed up, and that took courage." Give yourself that same compassion. When you're in the middle of a panic moment, try this grounding technique called the 3-3-3 rule. Look around and name 3 things you can see. Then identify 3 sounds you can hear. Then move 3 parts of your body. Wiggle your toes, roll your shoulders, stretch your fingers. This interrupts the panic spiral and brings you back to the present moment. It's okay to prepare for social situations. Think of a few conversation topics. Practice what you might say, but don't script everything. Over-preparation feeds anxiety because you're trying to control something that's inherently unpredictable. Human conversation is messy, spontaneous, and full of unexpected turns. That's what makes it human. You can't script it, and that's okay. When you're anxious, your breathing gets shallow and fast. This triggers more physical anxiety symptoms. Practice this. Breathe in slowly through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out through your mouth for 6. The longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calming mechanism. Do this for a few minutes before entering a situation, or even during if you need to. Let me be clear, there's no shame in seeking professional help. In fact, it's one of the smartest things you can do. Consider therapy if your anxiety is interfering with your daily life, work, relationships, basic activities. If you're avoiding important situations regularly. If you've tried self-help strategies for several months with no improvement. If you're experiencing panic attacks. If you're feeling depressed or hopeless because of your anxiety. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is the gold standard for social anxiety. It helps you identify and challenge distorted thoughts and gradually face feared situations. There's also acceptance and commitment therapy, which focuses on accepting your anxiety rather than fighting it, and taking action based on your values even when you're anxious. In some cases, medications like SSRIs can help reduce anxiety symptoms. This isn't cheating or a weakness, it's a tool that can make therapy more effective. And ironically, group therapy for social anxiety can be incredibly helpful. You're with others who understand exactly what you're going through, and you practice social skills in a safe environment. So, here's where we've been today. We started with the public persona paradox, this pressure to be on all the time, to perform a curated version of ourselves even in casual moments. We explored what social anxiety really is, not just shyness, but your brain's false alarm system telling you that social situations are dangerous. We looked at why it's worse in 2026, social media comparison, decreased face-to-face practice, performative culture, and the paradox of choice. We talked about the cost of avoidance and why it only makes things worse in the long run. And finally, we covered practical strategies you can start using today. But let me leave you with this final thought. You are not your anxiety. Social anxiety is something you experience, but it's not who you are. It's a set of thoughts and physical sensations that feel overwhelming, but they're not facts. They're not permanent, and they don't define your worth or your potential. Every person you admire, the confident speaker, the charismatic friend, the successful professional, they all have moments of doubt and anxiety. The difference isn't that they don't feel it. The difference is that they've learned to feel it and move forward anyway. That's courage. Not the absence of fear, but action despite it. So start small. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate tiny victories, because saying hello to a stranger or staying at a party for 10 minutes longer than usual, those are victories. And remember, connection is what makes us human. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable. But it's also where meaning, joy, and belonging live. You deserve that connection, and you're capable of it, even if your anxiety tells you otherwise. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, you're not alone in this.